People have been scanning the surface of a Scottish lake for centuries in search of the Loch Ness monster.
From Loch Ness to the Amazon, the myths never died, they just waited to be found.
It's 12 feet long, about 4 feet wide, grey in colour, seemed to be moving into the waves against the wind, occasionally breaking the surface.
Now, new footage and strange discoveries force us to ask again, what really lives beneath? So, let's watch, because sometimes the world doesn't need an explanation, only a different way of seeing. With that in mind, let's begin. In the Lake of Scotland, far from everyone's reach, one expert spotted the creature of myth, but this time in reality, he was lucky enough to record it and gave scientists a reason to reopen a mystery that began half a world away. One that many of you already know by name, the Loch Ness Monster. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear this out.
It's 12 feet long, about 4 feet wide, grey in colour, seemed to be moving into the waves against the wind, occasionally breaking the surface.
The story of Nessie isn't just a myth whispered by old fishermen. It began way back in the 6th century, when St. Columba reportedly ordered a strange beast in the River Ness to go back, and to everyone's shock, it did. Fast forward to 1933, a road was built along Loch Ness, and within weeks, travelers began reporting something massive moving in the water. Newspapers called it a monster, and then came that famous black and white photo showing a long neck, a small head, and ripples spreading across the loch. You've probably seen it 100 times, and 17 years later, Royal Air Force pilot recorded this, and it totally baffled the scientific community.
Surgeon's photograph is the icon. It is what most people see as Nessie. It is their Nessie. It's instantaneously recognizable, but there is still an enigma attached to it.
Since then, hundreds of witnesses, locals, tourists, even police officers have sworn they've seen it. Some say it moves like an elephant under the waves. Others describe it as smooth and dark like a giant eel. In 2023, a new sonar sweep detected something enormous lurking near the loch's deepest point.
Best evidence we've ever had from Loch Ness was a sonar contact taken by Ronald Mackenzie, who operates a boat called the Spirit of Loch Ness. And 3 years ago, they got a sonar contact, crystal clear sonar contact, about 600 feet down, and it's there.
People who are watching me from Scotland can tell how the fog rolls in over the water, and it's easy to imagine that something old is still stirring beneath the surface. But the weirdest part? What they found next didn't happen anywhere near Scotland. Thousands of miles away, deep inside the Amazon, locals were describing something shockingly similar. And that's where things start to get real. Far from the misty hills of Scotland, deep in the tangled green heart of the Amazon, locals speak of a creature that sounds hauntingly familiar. They call it Yakumama, Mother of the Waters. According to the tribes who've lived by those rivers for centuries, she's massive enough to swallow a canoe in one breath. Some explorers who went way too deep into the flooded forest by the Solomois River said they heard these crazy, deep rumbling sounds under the water, followed by whirlpools that popped up out of nowhere. And then something crazy popped up.
Se ve bien, se ve bien. Nada, mucho bien.
Back in 2019, a team of explorers from above noticed something massive in the Amazon River. Something bizarre. A creature over 100 feet long moving against the current. At first they thought it was just a random object until they noticed its movements. Now there are theories that suggest it might be just an anaconda, but let's be real. Anacondas are huge, but that big? That was something else. Though scientists insisted it could be a giant anaconda, people who watched the footage hinted at some unknown giant aquatic creature. But those who know the stories saw something different, something that might not just belong to the Amazon. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Except the same kind of stories started popping up again this time, way up in the Andes, where the air's thin and the lakes are ancient. Deep in the wild, snow-draped mountains of Argentina's Patagonia lies a lake so vast and eerily calm that locals say it can swallow sound itself. Lake Nahuelito. Much like Scotland's Loch Ness, this lake has a legend that just won't go away. The story of Nahuelito. The first sighting of this creature goes all the way back to 1910, when a guy named George Garrett claimed he saw an object 15 to 20 feet long, rising nearly 6 feet above the water. Ever since, Nahuelito has turned into more than just a campfire story. Locals and visitors alike often talk about strange wakes appearing on calm days, dark shapes shimmering on the surface, and shadows moving just below the water's edge. And in recent years, the buzz has only picked up. In June 2010, a video shot from the banks of Bariloche blew up online, showing a dark shape slowly gliding into the water. Then in 2024, a camera set up over the lake caught something huge swimming underwater. It never came up for air, but it was obvious that something big was going on down there. Now, a little while back in September 2025, some anonymous guy shared this crazy footage. There was this massive black creature popping its head out of the water.
Christ.
No one could identify the creature, but the cryptozoologists are saying this could be most shocking proof of their existence yet. Before that, in early 2015, two guys kayaking along the southern shore felt the water rush beneath them, followed by a massive dark shape speeding near their boats. They managed to catch a few seconds of it on video before it vanished, but as one of them said, it was huge and it moved fast.
Está más asustado que perro. ¿Qué vimos? ¿Qué vimos? El Nahuelito. ¿Qué vimos, boludo? Vimos el Nahuelito fuera de joda. La cosa.
So, after all these sightings and proofs, the question is, what exactly are we dealing with? Is it the same ancient creature moving through time, through water, across continents, or just humanity seeing what it wants to see? And here's where things get tricky. Thousands of miles west of the Amazon, perched nearly 12,500 feet above sea level, lies a body of water that locals call the birthplace of the gods. Lake Titicaca is quiet, shimmering, and incredibly deep. But what's really interesting is that even way up here in the Andes, stories of a long-necked creature have stuck around for generations. The ancient Aymara and Quechua people talk about the Amaru, a huge, double-headed serpent that hangs out beneath the lake. It's said to move between different realms, linking the sky and the underworld through water. And if you talk with the locals in Puno or Copacabana, many of them will tell you about strange ripples that appear on calm days, almost like something is rising and sinking just below the surface. Divers have claimed there are tunnels under the lake that connect it to smaller lagoons miles away. Scientists debate this, saying those passages don't exist, but honestly, few have dared to explore the lake's full depth. And if you're from Peru or Bolivia, you've probably heard someone, maybe an elder, mention the glowing light that sometimes dances across the water at night. Locals believe it's the spirit of Amaru coming up, a guardian that keeps the balance between worlds. It all sounds a bit familiar, right? A creature tied to ancient waters, disappearing into tunnels, seen by many but never really proven. Kind of like Nessie finding a second home in the clouds. Now, if you're still with me, hold on, because this next part might just connect everything. Science says no creature that large could survive unnoticed in these lakes, not for centuries. There's not enough food, not enough evidence. And yet, the same pattern keeps showing up. Deep, cold lakes, ancient myths, unexplained sonar readings, and videos that defy every easy explanation. Researchers point out that many of these lakes are connected to old underground systems, networks of caves and tunnels that no one's fully explored. And if something ancient ever found its way in there, maybe it never needed to leave. But ask the locals who have lived by these waters forever, and you'll hear a totally different story. They believe these beings aren't monsters, but guardians, spirits of the water that only show up when the balance is thrown off. Maybe that's why no expedition ever finds bones, no radar scan ever gets a clear image, because what we're chasing isn't meant to be caught. Whether it's the Yakumama, the Amaru, Nahuelito, or Nessie herself, every version of this story whispers the same thing, that the world is still deeper, stranger, and more alive than we think. So is it real? Maybe that's not the right question. The truth could be hiding not just in the water, but in us, in our desire to believe that some mysteries are just too wild to explain. And that's it for today. If this video made you pause and think, subscribe. There's always more to discover when you look closer.